Welcome back to the next episode of Process Mapping. My name is Jurgen Moors, and in this episode and also the next episode, we go a little bit more in detail and talk about some basics of process mapping. Now, if you talk about process mapping, there are two things that are really, really important when you start. One of them is, of course, make sure it is clear to everybody where do we start and where do we end. You need to make sure there is a right box around the process you want to discuss. Otherwise, you will go from left to right all over the world and it becomes so complex. No, make sure when we talk about our process, let it be clear to everybody at the table. This is the starting point and this is the ending point, and these are the things that we will not discuss. That needs to be clear to everybody when you actually start with a process map. Second thing, really important, is people at the table. Make sure all the people involved are at the table. Meaning, sometimes we make mistakes that the people who actually do the job are not at the table. If you have a physical process, like for instance in car manufacturing, make sure that those people who actually do the activities in the process that you will discuss, that they are at the table. Many times, because things have changed, you're not always, as a manager, aware of the things that actually happen. So make sure that people who actually do the tasks, that they are at the table. Their direct supervisors, they also need to be at the table. And then management layers, what you can also do is bring suppliers. This can be internal suppliers from a logistical point of view, or other people to the table actually contribute to a certain process to make sure that you all have the right input. That you can also experience from how they see the process from the outside, not necessarily from the inside, but also the other way around, how the process looks at the outside world. It helps understanding, and like I said, one of the major things why we try to visualize a certain process or do a process map is to make sure that people are on the same level and are talking about it on the same level. Now, how do you start with this? First of all, you start with giving everybody some post-its. You box the process from beginning till the end. Now let's talk about all the steps that are happening, and you put them on post-its, everybody himself. After a while, you bring the team together, you start discussing, and you will see that everybody has a different vision on a process map, has a different vision on all the activities. But if you take the time to discuss and go through it, in the end, you will end up with a consensus about how the major process is looking like and what it's actually doing and how it is working. And that is very important. You also have an idea about what are the inputs and what are the outputs. You can also put this on constraints. What are the decision points? You can put that in there. But then you're all talking about the same thing. And that is where we start. With the two major things. What's the end and the beginning? What is the right? Don't forget that if you do your very first process map. Next basic things we will talk about in our next episode. See you then. About process mapping. Follow us on YouTube, LinkedIn, and on Instagram, and make sure that you do not forget to put those thumbs up. Bye-bye.